I want to tell you, Courtney, no matter what happens with Holton Hill, you can make fun of me on Twitter. You can use your memes. You can use your GIFs or GIFs. You can even call them GIFs. I'll let you call them GIFs, even though it's wrong.
No, it's not.
I will always believe that you should draft the weed guy or that you should sign the undrafted weed guy. If there's a guy who was thrown off his team or a guy who fails a drug test for a diluted sample or whatever the hell it might be at the combine, and he's going to sink in the draft because of it, because he got a little bit of a weed problem, then I'm taking that guy. Because even though there are some situations where it hasn't worked out, and we'll see with Holton Hill, it might turn itself around. But
to be fair, we don't know if the suspension,
right. Yeah, we don't.
PEDs is what it said. That's what the statement from the NFL. But we do know that weed was a problem.
But even just a suspension in general, like, is a big hit to him when you already come in with a black mark on your resume. That they were drafting Australian punters and stuff like in the 7th round instead of you. Like, I mean, to go undrafted, if they must really think that you're going to do something again to go undrafted when they're finding dudes in New Zealand with YouTube pages to select. Okay. But anyway, I'm sticking with that forever because I think it's the best way to find bang for your buck deals. If you're the team that's willing to take that risk and bring them into your culture and hope it works. And for every one that does, that you get Janoris Jenkins or Randy Moss later than you were supposed to, or Tyrann Mathieu is a 4th round pick and he's a superstar. Like, there will be
Reuben Fosters of the world. Absolutely. And we understand that.
I mean, that's a different one. That's not.
He had a diluted sample at the combine, and yes, there's other baggage there.
Other problems,
but there was also a drug problem, which you just don't know how this thing's going to pan out.
I didn't say always draft the overly violent in society guy.
What he fell for in the 49ers trading back into the 1st round to get him was that diluted sample.
Didn't he also get in a fight with someone at the combine?
He was aggressive to one of the nurses, I believe was the story that came out of Indianapolis, but it was for a diluted sample. He didn't want to talk about the diluted sample. At least Holton Hill did. You have to give him credit for what you were saying at the top of the hour. I mean, he was very honest and transparent that he wanted to get help. He talked to NFL Network about it. I remember probably around rookie minicamp last year. He admitted it was an issue. It was an issue at Texas. It was something he had struggled with, and he was trying to get help for it. But this just raises more concern that, I mean, he wasn't even drafted. This is a steal for them, getting the top UDFA of this 2018 class. But I still think that there's a lot of risk there. Not saying you don't take those guys, but you do realize that with the risk, could potentially throw off your entire draft strategy, which is not something that I think you want to hedge your bets on.
And this is the key part of the point about how Holton Hill's suspension impacts the draft. Because, a couple people on Twitter come in with, look, I mean, they've got their starters still in place right now for 2019. That's true. But you don't draft in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round for 2019. If you do, you're going to be in trouble a lot of times if you're asking those guys to be starters right away. You're usually drafting for the future. And now if a guy has 2 strikes on his record already, he can't be put into the rock solid future plan. Like, guys we know are rock solid parts of the future plan. Mike Hughes for sure. Anthony Barr. Danielle Hunter. Can I tell you something real quick?
Yeah.
This might blow your mind. Got your coffee set down or water, whatever you have there? Danielle Hunter is younger than Stephen Weatherly.
He's 23. It's a baby.
24.
24.
But did you know that?
Yeah, I did.
I ran into that yesterday and I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
He's younger than Stephen Weatherly.
And imagine when he's going to sign his next contract, he's going to still be in the prime of his career. It's pretty nuts to think about.
But when you go through, who are my core players for 2020, for 2021? This is how you have to do it past the 1st round. 1st round, you can be like, we need a guard. Let's draft one and play him at guard. Beyond that, you don't know. A lot of times they have to develop or they don't become anything at all. And if you were putting Holton Hill as part of that, we have these young guys we're going forward with. Now, that's got a huge question mark over it. And that's where it changes it in my mind.
I just think that we've talked about this before. Like, remember last offseason when everything looked fine and dandy? They were, re-signing Eric Kendricks. They were giving Danielle Hunter his big extension and Stephon Diggs the same thing. And this was before we saw the first season with Kirk Cousins, but we're looking at, wow, this team is set through 2020, 2021 with most of these guys. And then last season played out, and then this offseason played out, and you just start plucking pieces off of that succession plan of how this thing's going to pan out the next few years. I think it's kind of scary when you take a look, you peel back the layers there to realize, okay, they have no depth on the offensive side of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, they're in trouble too, especially with this cornerback group. So I think that with a guy like Holton Hill, it's hard. And anybody who's had kind of these off-field concerns that whether it was weed or whether it was something else, it keeps popping up now and he's facing a suspension. I don't think you can account for him for the long-term plan at all. And that really does alter, maybe not your first round pick, but that alters probably what you're going to do second through fourth round. And that's not a good place to put your franchise in. And it's the front office who took a risk on this guy and wanted to take a flyer on somebody who had an issue like this before. Are you as apt to do it again?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, every year. Yeah, okay. Every single year, I will take the guy that has some sort of problem that is dropping in the draft for some reason. And 1 out of 5 will probably work out, but that one might be a superstar player.
So that's what you think the Dolphins got with Laramie Tunsil?
No, I'm saying that 1 out of 5. So you could probably name a bunch of guys that didn't work out for a lot of different reasons. And I would say you're right. But I agree with the person who tweeted me and said, Holton Hill is already a huge success. How many undrafted free agents at all were quality fill-in players in the NFL in general who are rookies?
I agree. No.
Like, very few. You got him for nothing except for money, which they had money. So, I mean, it's a big success. How many undrafted free agents did they bring in last year? 20? A bunch of receivers who couldn't play? And they found this guy, the weed guy, who gives you important play. Now, they didn't make the playoffs, but on the 4th best defense in the league, he held down the cornerback position.
He had to go against Drew Brees, Tom Brady as a rookie. That's impressive.
Right. There's the potential that you bring somebody in to play that situation, the wheels go off and you get killed. And, that guy just is awful. But because Holton Hill was more talented, you got someone for almost nothing, no draft capital at all, who gave you quality play in one season. That's worth it, because 99.9% of the undrafted free agents give you nothing at all.
And I do think that this is regardless of whether you're in win now, I still think this is a year-to-year league. And you have to view it through that microscope. It also at the same time looking towards the future. So I understand why you'd take a flyer on a guy like Holton Hill if you thought, he was projected anywhere from the 3rd to the 5th round.
There were some people who were even saying early on, because he is a
2nd round pick.
Yeah, second round pick, because he's a unique size and speed and strength and all that. The issue I keep running into now is if we agree that a corner has to go probably round 2 or 3, 4 at the farthest, but then you're not really sure. If it's 2 or 3, if you get to the 1st round, this is the issue that I ran into, and Noah Fant is there, or TJ Hawkinson somehow is there. I don't think he will be. Somebody who's really sexy. I mean, Ed Oliver, let's just say.
Sure.
Someone always drops. Derwin James dropped last year, and I couldn't believe it. Someone's always there.
And there's so many defensive linemen in this group that you bound to think not 5 are going to get taken in the top 10.
I mean, then you get to a situation where you're like, I don't know. This guy is really, really good, and he's the best player on our board, but we need the lineman, but maybe there won't be a run-on lineman this time because everyone got them last year.